and it was trying to go in my body. Again, I'm in this like dream, weird, wake, asleep. It was trying to go in my body, and then I'm trying to fight it. And it was trying to go in my body. I couldn't move. And then in my mind, I'm saying, go to hell. And then it looks at me and says, I'm taking you with me.
Okay.
And then I keep fighting, and I keep fighting, and I keep fighting, and it finally goes away. And then another one comes that looks exactly like it, does the same thing. I'm fighting it, and fighting it, and fighting.
Hi everybody, my name is Jose Gutierrez and I'm here with the Catholic Film. And today we have another interview / testimony this time with one of our parishioners here from St. Thomas Aquinas here in Bartow, Florida. A very small parish, but with a great big heart. Just so you guys know, I personally have not heard this testimony. And just even for you, just so you know, when we did the interview with Father, after we got done, Father even asked us, who's next? And we said, Father, we really don't know. We're going to pray on it and we'll see. And he's like, okay, well, hopefully it's somebody good. And this and that. I'm like, all right, yeah, we'll see, Father, what happens. And after the Bible study, you texted me and I did not tell my wife. We were going back and forth for a little bit. And then I was at the store and I texted her and I told her, hey, guess who texted me? She's like, who? Kurt. I'm like, what happened? He wants to share his testimony on the video. She's like, what? Really? I'm like, yeah. So it was amazing the way it came. So the way you said it is that, you know, you think that you needed to share it. And I'm sharing this behind the scene that something you don't know that before that, we even talked about how we don't know who's next because we're not doing this for the fame. We're doing this for the same reason you even said it might help somebody out there. It might reach somebody out there some way, somehow. So that's where we're at here now too, as well. So if you can start by, you know, letting the people know who you are. And we'll start from there, little by little, asking questions and whatnot. Okay. But we'll definitely get into your testimony of how you came into the faith and whatnot.
Okay.
So if you don't mind presenting yourself.
Yeah. So hi everyone. I'm Kurt McPartland. I've been living around this area for a couple years now. Originally from Tampa. I lived in Orlando for a little bit. So yeah, my testimony is about like how I came to the Catholic Church.
So you was never, from the beginning, were you Catholic?
I grew up Catholic, but you know, we weren't very strict Catholics. And then we kind of, you know, stopped going when we were older kind of thing, situation like that.
And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 33.
33. Okay.
Yeah. So we kind of stopped going to church when I was in high school.
And you mean?
My family.
Okay.
My dad, my brother.
How many brothers you have?
One brother.
Okay. So just you and your brother. You're
me and my brother.
Oldest or youngest?
I'm the youngest.
The youngest.
Yeah. So
how much older is your brother from you?
He is 38.
Okay. So he's not that much older.
Yeah.
Good relationship?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
He lives in California.
Oh, wow.
So he's in the Navy and so yeah. We kind of stopped going because, you know, I see it different now. Like we weren't very strict about it, and the whole scandal thing, there was a big scandal that happened at the church we were going to and everything. And it kind of turned my dad off because he was very involved. And I guess it was a lack of faith that we had as a family. So as I went on and got older, I did become Protestant, you know, at an interesting time in my life, you know, through Christian counseling, and she was kind of like an evangelist and introduced me to the Bible. And I was in that for a little while, and it served its purpose at the time. It definitely did.
Right.
But I did also have like a falling away. You know, I was in my sin and everything, and like I just had a lot of trouble, and I got into conflict with people. Like I was really involved. Like I did go on international missions and stuff like that a couple of times. I went to Guatemala to help a ministry out there.
What, really? Yeah. With the Protestants?
Yeah, with the Protestants.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Hey, well, at least you were doing something good. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it had its purpose, and, you know, I have respect for them and everything. But I did kind of have one of those losing faith moments. It's what happened. And I kind of beat myself up on it over time. And I would say after that, you know, this was when I was living in Orlando.
Okay.
And I kind of went into a rebellion. I ran from God. I definitely was ashamed of things that I did, and so I was running from God is what happened. And I rebelled. I looked into other spiritualities. I looked into New Age spirituality. I looked into the occult, and I got deeply invested, deeply involved in the occult out in Orlando. Um, I got fascinated by divination, you know, tarot cards, palm readings,
Yeah.
stuff like that. It took me into some very dark realms, is what happened, and got involved with different occult groups. It fascinated me, and now that I look back, it's like that's what the devil does. He kind of tries to intrigue you. He tries to tell you that, oh, you could be like God. You could know things that are hidden. The occult, now that I think about it, the devil uses it as like a fishing lure. Like you see something that looks good,
Yeah.
And then you follow it, and it gives you enough just to keep following it a little more. Kind of like the whole forbidden fruit in
Yeah.
Genesis and everything. So anyways, I got.
Let me ask you,
Yeah,
do you
of course.
think that was that during your Protestant stuff or after?
After I ran from God.
So after you ran from God from the
Protestants, I
faith?
broke out, stopped going to church.
Okay.
Just kind of wanted to figure things out on my own and everything. So,
Mhm.
and in Orlando, there's a lot of diversity there. There's a lot of everything out there. It's a big city, and I was working in Disney, and there was just people who were really into alternative spirituality, and for some reason, it fascinated me. And the reason why is because those religions, those spiritualities, they offer you something. It's like, oh, you want power? Like, I can give you power.
Wow.
Or you want healing? I could show you these alternative healing modalities. It goes very deep. It's very expansive.
And I want to say that I think that what you were going through, it also like not only how can I say it responded back to you. So if you were seeking that, I mean, you had some feedback from it, and it kept feeding you more, right?
Yes,
I mean, meaning that you
absolutely.
did get a response from that side.
Yeah.
Because I would think that if people are practicing that and they're not seeing a response, then they will walk away from it. But you must have been getting responses back from the other side. That
absolutely. And the thing is, it's a real, like it's the devil uses it where it's just enough to keep you going. It might not be like, oh, it might not win the lottery right away or something like that. He just kind of like feeds you. It's just like breadcrumbs, and
Wow.
it's so yeah, I got really involved with a spiritual group in Orlando, and they were pagans. They worshiped nature is what they did. And they did witchcraft. They did spells. It really opened my mind up to something new, and I was just so hooked. And I started to get involved. I started to do divination myself. I was very fascinated for some reason. And it was like one thing led to another. It took me, like it was, and then it's like in that whole world, there's all sorts of things. So, you got divination, Reiki. Like, I don't know if you're ever familiar with that. It's energy healing. Like it's the laying on of hands, and they channel universal energy. And the thing is, those things don't come from God.
No.
And now that I look back at that time in my life, it's what the devil does is he mimics God. He tries to act like God. When Jesus healed the sick and everything, and now there's these Reiki practitioners who heal people with universal energy and everything. It's an abomination, really, if you look at the whole spectrum of everything. And so, yeah, I was into that for a while. I got into yoga. And yoga, yes, it's a physical practice, but it's a spiritual practice as well, if you really look into it. And it was also a big part of my life. And so, yeah, one thing led to another. And then I was going to those rituals for quite some time, going to workshops they had there where they teach you how to do witchcraft.
Wow.
Basically, make candles, set your intentions and everything. And yeah, so I got into that. And then, I had a significant other at the time. She was also into another spirituality. She was into something like Santeria,
Yeah.
which it wasn't the Cuban version. It was like the Brazilian version. And that's a whole nother dark part of my life as well. And so if you don't know what that is, it's basically working with spirits, asking spirits to help you, kind of like how you would pray to God.
Yeah.
It was complete idolatry now that I look back at it. And I was very into it. And then one thing kind of led to another. I started working with every kind of new age thing you could think of, every kind of occult practice, every kind
Were
of...
you doing it or using it for just you, or were you using it against someone? Did they teach you can use it against someone as well?
Here's the thing. Yeah, there is like evil witches out there and everything would do that. But a lot of, like, at least what I was learning is like, oh, you want to do it for yourself to better your life. Because a lot of that stuff, they believe that whatever you put out will come back to you threefold or whatever. And so, yeah, I never really got into like malevolent stuff, but everything that I was doing was out of pride, complete pride. And now that I look back at it, that's what the devil does. He kind of offers you something. He tries to boost your pride up. He tries to tell you things. He tries to make it seem like he's helping you, is what it is. And then the occult, one thing will always lead you to another. And the devil will lure you and intrigue you. And then just to where you'll keep chasing.
Yeah, you're always hooked, right? You always want more.
Yeah, okay? It's almost like a drug, if you want to think about it. A very unhealthy drug. And so I was involved in that group for a little, spirit channeling. And the danger of those groups and those religions is what they do is they let spirits come into their body, like purposely.
Now, was this where you went to a place and it was a group of people?
Yeah.
And so, they teach you how to do this back when you're home by yourself?
Well, no.
Or you only did it when you go to that place?
It was kind of like a ceremony. Oh. Like when I went to these spiritist groups in the Umbanda, it was called Umbanda. It's a Brazilian, Afro-Brazilian tradition.
Was there a lot of people there, like a lot of attendees?
It was like around 5 to 10. It was very intimate, and it was from a lady who practiced Umbanda for like 30 years in Brazil, and she would teach us how to work with our spirit guides.
How did you get introduced to it?
My girlfriend at the time, she knew some Brazilians that she was close with.
So almost like Adam and Eve, the women
exactly.
drew the man.
It's almost like there's something to it.
I mean, that's why, for a man, we got to be very careful of the woman that we pick.
Absolutely.
Because the woman, my wife tells me this all the time, that a man is good and a man can be really successful and really strong and achieve a lot of things. But if that person that's behind you or beside you, the wife, the girlfriend, the person that you're supposed to build a life with, it's not in the same page you are, there's going to be a lot of downfall. A big influence. And we've seen that. We've seen that just with Adam and Eve. And history repeats itself. You see that, you had a girlfriend that you thought, you trusted in a way, right? And you didn't, why would you think anything of it? Like you said, it was the devil feeding you little by little, nothing crazy at once, because he doesn't work like that. He works. And it's crazy it's crazy that you're talking about this, because, and this is all about you. We're going to keep talking more about it because I'm intrigued. But myself, I don't know if I told you last time we were talking for a little bit about exorcisms. Yeah, that I experienced a lot of that. And it was because of people that did a lot of that stuff. And I myself witnessed, because of those actions, where it leads to, like if you don't get out of there soon enough. But yeah, go ahead and continue. Sorry.
No. If you have any questions, please stop and answer them, because it might help someone understand, like, who's watching this.
No, especially, they don't see it in the camera, but we got, young kids behind the cameras, and they need to know that that's out there. It's real. And the fact that a person that you trusted, that was, a girlfriend or a boyfriend that's going to be for the girls, they can lead you into something that,
absolutely,
that's really wrong without you even knowing. That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're doing those things, you kind of attract people who are doing those things too.
Yeah.
So I kind of found myself with someone who was doing similar stuff, and then we kind of just brought our things together. And so that was a very dark time of my life. And so just so you know what goes on in these ceremonies, it's good to know, like, what the enemy does. It's not to where, like, we're fascinated by it, just to know like what is really out there in the world. So in these traditions, in these Afro-Caribbean traditions, they listen to music, and they invite spirits to come in to give the rest of the crowd messages, which is basically you're asking to have a possession, pretty much. So that's just kind of what that part of my life was. And, after time, that group came into a clash, and everyone was fighting, and a lot of weird stuff started happening. Spirits started to possess the teacher, like, out of nowhere, and
like saying, like, doing things.
So here was one thing. Like,
was it a female or a male?
It was a woman.
Okay.
Yeah. And
again, a woman that's leading. Nothing against the women out there, but it's just,
it can.
I mean, because women are not only, they're one of the most beautiful things that God created.
Yes.
And it's crazy how the devil himself knows that.
Yeah.
And uses that, that through a woman, these type of things can happen, and people are drawn to it. I don't know, because I mean, then, and you see it in the Virgin Mary, how he used a woman to purify the world, right? That's how Jesus came. So it's crazy that, the devil, everything that God uses or will use, the devil will use as well, but in an evil way.
And that I think about it, God lets this stuff happen because look at me now. Like, I was involved in some very dark stuff, and based on those experiences, like, he uses all of these things for the good in the long run. Even it's like this spiritual battle, against God and the devil. And because God has the more power, like, the devil can only work as much as God lets him. If you look at the book of Job, he was being tormented pretty much, and God, I don't really know, I haven't read that book in a while, but I know that God lets Satan kind of like bring his life down to test his faith. And that could have been what was going on with me, but during that time in the group, like, things started to get weird, with the teacher. And I remember there was one time we were doing Reiki on each other, the energy healing, and all of a sudden, like, she started shaking, like there was something coming in her, and then her face looked different, and everyone's looking, and then it left, and then we're asking her, what was that? She's like, I don't know. And then the next week, there was disagreements in the group and fighting and everything of, oh, let's do things this way.
Yeah.
And then that group disbanded, and then my life took a different turn. I got into some other things. So after that, me and that girl broke up and everything. We had our disagreements, whatever.
But not because of this.
No.
It was just, okay.
Just because of, typical stuff. And I ended up leaving her and then moving out to this area. And that's when my heart was still kind of in, like, the pagan traditions that I was doing. So that is when I got involved in the religion called Wicca. It's traditional Wicca. And if you don't know what Wicca is, it is a nature religion. Once again, they're worshiping nature, and they worship pagan deities, and they do ritual magic. And these groups, it's they're very secretive. They're very closed off. And that's when my life took a whole completely different turn. Yeah. And I took that part of my life very seriously. I even ended up becoming a Wiccan priest.
Oh, wow.
Conducting rituals, teaching, helping the priestess teach other people learn Wicca.
How long did it take you to become that priest?
A couple years. It's so about Wicca. It was created by this guy named Gerald Gardner, and he's a self-proclaimed archaeologist. He was a Freemason, so that should tell you a lot right there. And he claimed that he was initiated by this secret coven of witches who brought him in. It was very like, was that even true kind of thing. And that brought to my mind, like over time, like, Satan is the author of lies and the father of confusion. And it wasn't until later that I started thinking that thing like that way. But anyway, so I got really, really involved in that. And another dark time of my life, I was really into it. I was very passionate about it. I was giving people tarot readings. Like I was very into divination.
Were you being accurate sometimes? Were you like hitting the spots?
Yeah, yes and no. Here's the thing about that. Like, it's one of those things that the devil uses as a lure. He'll give you just enough to keep coming back. Sometimes it might be like, oh, wow, that was very, like, how'd you know that? Sometimes it won't be. But then again, I look back and I can't even remember a reading that changed the course of my life. It's complete abomination. It's complete idolatry is what it is. And yeah, so that's how that works.
And why do you think it's so hard? Why? I mean, I guess because you're in it, it's so hard to see that this ain't right while you're doing it.
Spiritual blindness is what it is. Because there's this verse in the Bible, I can't remember what it is, but it was like one of the letters from Paul to, one of those letters. It was saying that they itched for the things that they wanted to hear. Their ears itched for the things they wanted to hear. And that is a lot of what the New Age and occult movement is. People are just itching for what they want to hear about themselves. And it's all about pride, is what it is. It's pride.
And through that whole time that you were experiencing all this and you became a priest, did you ever come near or around an actual priest from the church or around the church stuff? Anything to do with the church stuff? And if you did, how was that encounter? Was it like, we stay away from this side, or we stay away from this type of images or the rosary?
There was one thing I would notice about people in the Wiccan community is that they were appalled by Christianity in all of its forms. They would mock Jesus, make fun of Jesus. And, there was something in me when people would talk like that. Even though I was really involved in Wicca, there was something that didn't feel right about it.
You didn't, okay.
There was like this very, very slight, like, oh, that doesn't sit right with me. Because, I grew up in the faith a little bit. I was a Baptist for a little bit. And it always kind of struck me kind of weird. And I just wouldn't say anything, And, but it's interesting because me leaving that religion is how I got into Catholicism, which brought in, I'll tell you about that. But anyways, so I was really involved in that. And there was a lot of things I would notice in this community. There was so much strife, so much disagreement, so much ego, so much pride, so much everything. And like, I remembered the Bible from when I was Baptist. Like I said, it served its purpose that I was Protestant, because there was a lot of Bible things that would come to mind when I was in these religions that would be the complete opposite to where it was like, okay, maybe there's something to this. Because like, for instance, in the Bible, there's something that's like, they worship creation instead of creator.
Yeah.
That is what Wicca is. That is what paganism is. It's the complete opposite. And in the Bible, in like Genesis, the serpent is offering them power pretty much, saying I could, do you want to be like God pretty much? Right. That's what Wicca is. It's pretty much saying in Wicca, it's like you are God. That's how much pride is in those traditions. It's it's not good.
Is there anything that's out there? It is there. How can I explain this? Is there the way that works out in the world where people don't? How can I explain? Like you don't have to come to the group, but they work outside. Meaning they might ask you guys, or they might share something on the internet or on TV, or go to this type of store, and like so it can bring people to them. How can I explain? Like I know you went to a group, you went to Orlando, you know where it's at and everything. But for those that don't know where it's at, is there
Like how you would find?
how would you find it? How would you notice
Right.
it? How would you know like, hey, this will lead to what you're saying, that Wicca stuff?
So there is a lot of things on social media. On Facebook, there's these forums where you could find a teacher. And it's weird because like the teacher goes from like second, third degree, and then they become teach, and then they teach some. So it spreads like that. And then they teach other people, they start their group. And so it's like that. And you can go into these metaphysical shops and they have information on stuff like that. I would recommend staying away from those places. You know, there's just, but there's information out there, but it's also very secretive. Like these rituals are done in people's homes and suburban places. And it could be anybody, you know, like the people I was involved with, they were professionals, you know, it's very secretive, but there is a community. And, but as I was saying, like one of the things I noticed, like there was a lot of strife in the community. Like there was this argument on transgender ideation. Oh, what is a woman? What is a man kind of thing? And they're fighting about it because the man and woman would have different roles in the ritual and everything. And I was just kind of like indifferent, like I didn't really care, you know, but it brought these memories of the Bible. Like I remember that Jesus would say to judge a tree by its fruit. And the fruit in that community, like the people, like I would notice they would have all these problems in their life. There was so much strife in the community. Like it was just bad fruit. And like I started putting all these biblical things that I remembered, and it was just pivoting off each other, like the occult compared to what Jesus said. And it was like almost there was something to it, you know? And so weird things started happening to me. Like even during this time, I had respect for Catholicism, you know, because my parents were Catholic, and my parents knew that I was into some weird stuff, and I know they were praying for me. I know they were praying for me. And my dad would even send me like videos of like
Catholic videos.
Yeah, Catholic videos. And, you know, I would watch them, be like, oh, whatever. But as time went on, like when you're involved in the occult and stuff, you're trying to have all of these mystical experiences on purpose, opening yourself up, trying to have visions and everything. So I would have really intense dreams sometimes.
For what though? For what did you want those? Like when you were in it, why did you keep? I know it was you didn't understand it at that moment, but living it, what were you seeking to get out of it? Like, is it really like a drug, or like a, you know, when you're addicted to something, you just want it just because you don't have a purpose now, or you actually said, you know, no, I just want to gain this power so I can maybe one day be able to move this object from here just by looking at it. I don't know, or put my hands on somebody so they can be, I don't know, have some type of healed or something. Do I like what were you seeking? Were you seeking,
so like what my intentions
were?
were
Were intentions to do good with it in a way, you know, wrongly, but in a way, like what was going through your mind when you were doing all this? Like, oh, I'm really gonna help. I'm gonna help my parents maybe get more money somehow, some way with this. I'm gonna help myself get more money. I don't know. You know.
So now that I look back at it, it was out of complete pride. You know, I felt, you know, I struggled in school a lot when I was a kid, and like I had low self-esteem. And you'll notice a lot of these people in the New Age and occult groups, you know, people with mental health problems, you know, a lot of them go into it for healing. A lot of them go into it for power because they feel powerless, The devil offers you something that you don't have with conditions is what it is.
So before you got into that, little backup, your life growing up, there's somewhere in your life, if you don't have to talk about it, you don't have to, but there's something that impacted your life where you were in that situation where you felt powerless.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so that's, that's, so you're saying that Christianity wasn't really fulfilling what you were looking for, obviously. That's why you went this other route for a little bit. But something I'm saying it because I don't want people to think that, like there's a way out of it. If people are feeling down in the moment in their life, if they actually would seek some help in a different way, maybe actually talking to a priest, talking to a parent, communicating, maybe it wouldn't have led you that way. Or you think that, no, this is something that everybody has to go through sometime in their life. I don't know.
I would say that what I was really seeking, and I didn't realize it, was God, the true God. Mm-hmm. That's what I was seeking. And when I was in those traditions, even growing up out of Christianity, I would be like, oh, this is just a different way of worshiping God. The truth goes from subject to subject. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like that. And I would rationalize that in my mind all the time. Oh, this is just a different way of worshiping God. It's the same as the Christian God, which is far from the truth.
Yeah.
There can't be multiple truths,
No.
It just doesn't make sense. But that's what is taught in those traditions, that it's just another way of worshiping God. But, Christianity, they have bad things to say about that.
Yeah.
But
And I think a lot on a personal view of that is that I think the Catholic Church, not the Catholic Church itself, but the people in the church have failed a lot in the teachings. And this is why when I teach or I teach my kids or anybody, that I always teach that part where you're saying is that seeking of God. If you ever grew up during your childhood, because I did, and there was a gap, right? There's always that gap. Everybody says there's a gap. And I explain what that is. And what that is the soul of that God gave us crying back to God, mm-hmm. saying, God, where are you? And you can't find them. And because we never had that teaching, I personally, as I was growing up and going to church and not really leaving the faith like that crazy. Yeah, I wasn't always a practicing Catholic, but it was because I never had concrete actual teachings to why am I feeling sad right now? And the church or people in the church will be saying, well, just pray on it. Just pray on it. Just pray on it. And never giving you actual answers. Scripture, never actually telling you, well, scripture says this, and knowing that the word of God is living, and it does. And that's why I teach and I help people understand that absence that you feel in your heart, that question, why am I born? What's my purpose? What am I seeking? That's your soul crying back to God, not your flesh, because your flesh desires something quick. It desires power. It desires to act on something. It wants to feed itself, the flesh. But the soul keeps crying and crying, and it's seeking God because our soul will eventually return to God, but it wants to connect with God now. And it's supposed to connect with God now. That's the whole point of it. That's why Jesus died for us. And the cross, it was that we can connect with him now, not later on when we're 50, 60, when we're done partying, when we're done doing our things in the world. No, but now. So I think, that's what happened to you. And what happens to a lot of people is that that poor teaching, that poor catechism where we don't teach our students, our children, exactly what the church teaches, what scriptures teaches. And because of that, a lot of people fail and they go and try to find their own route because since the church is the way, sometimes, man, and it sucks to say and it's hard to say, but it's true. Sometimes the people in the church make it put them signs when they have constructions out there and they put the orange, what is it called? They direct you somewhere else. They reroute your detour. That's what people in the church do. Not the church itself. The church has all the teachings, but people in the church, they put detours for you, and that sucks because those detours, I don't know if I took them before and I tried taking them without a GPS. It sucks. It takes you another way around. Yeah. And you end up thinking this is the best route. And once you're in it, you're stuck in it. You just take it.
Exactly.
And it's hard to say, but it's sadly but true. But hopefully, little by little, people like you and I that are seeing it now can, probably help others. And man, I'm so glad you're doing this, bro. Like, I'm so happy.
I felt
go
so
ahead.
convicted to tell this story because
Yeah.
not that many people know it.
Yeah.
But so I was seeking God in all of the wrong places. That is what all of these people are doing. They are looking for God, but they are deceived. They are truly deceived. I remember, like, when I was in the Protestant church. Well, like I said, it served its purpose.
Yeah.
There was this one guy. He would talk about apologetics and everything, and he would say what the devil does is, like, you'll be in a line to get into the Super Bowl, and there will be someone saying, "Oh, I'm selling tickets," but they're counterfeit. That's what the devil does. That's what all of these other religions are. And there's another verse in the Bible, I can't quote it, but there's a verse that says Satan will masquerade as an angel of light.
Yeah.
And that's what all these other religions are. If you look at Joseph Smith, he saw an angel and he got this new revelation.
Right.
The Quran, Muhammad saw an angel, So he creates these counterfeits is what it is, because he wants to be God. He tells you can be God. That's what Wicca is. That's what the occult is. And
I think now, back then it was more, you can be God and bring a group. Now it's, you can be God, but just keep it to yourself. So now the devil's seeing that these groups have been failing, right? The Jehovah's Witness, all these people that claim that they saw a spirit and the angels talked to them, and they created something. Well, the church is so strong that it destroys that. But now the devil's working inside, where he's saying, okay, you ain't got to create a church. Don't go crazy.
Exactly.
Just little by little, bring somebody here. You be your own priest. You be your own God. You do your own sacrifices, and don't tell nobody. And that's what's gonna. That's how it's. I think he's working now because he exposed it. And since the truth is out there of the church, that the Catholic Church is the true way, so these other denominations will fail easily. But now the devil's working in a way where he's talking to you personally in a different way.
Yeah, and it's very deceptive. I was very deceived for years.
How long were you in that for?
I would say I broke out of the Baptist church in like 2017, 2018. And then in 2019, I really got into New Age spirituality, occult stuff. And it wasn't until last Easter is when I went to the first Mass, and that's when things changed. So I'll talk about that. Or are you going to ask a question?
Well, we're going to talk about that. That's what I'm kind of asked. I bet that had to be fun in a way, not fun in a good way, fun and like clashing. Like there had to be a lot of.
There was some weird things started happening after that. And see, I would back to what I was talking about earlier, like when you're doing these things, you're trying to have these mystical experiences, trying to have intense dreams. And I had a couple intense dreams. Like I tried to shut them out of my conscience, but one of them, I was in a church, like my childhood church, and I was like crying. And then there was this big glowing cross. And I was crying in the dream, and I woke up and I'm like, that's just my subconscious mind. That's just, I had a couple like that, but I don't remember what they were. And as time went on, I would just shrug stuff off like that. And I feel like it was the Holy Spirit's way of being like, look, you can either deny me, or you could be spiritually blind and choose to be spiritually blind. So at the time when I went to this Mass, it was Easter, and I was dating a girl at the time, and she's not really going to church and everything. It's just part of her culture. And she's like, oh, I was going to go to Mass for Easter with my mom, but I don't think I'm going to. And I was like, why don't we go? Because I was open. I was like, oh, it's all the same thing. Like, it's all universal and everything. So I went to the Mass, and it was very familiar. Like, it was very peaceful. Like, I had this overwhelming sense of peace in my heart and in my soul. And it wasn't at this church, but it was at a church, and the priest, God bless him, but I couldn't really understand what he was saying. But there was one thing that he said that stuck out. He said, you should find your peace in Jesus Christ. And after that, I felt so calm, so relaxed. And I look back at all of the practices I was doing, yoga, like you're trying to find peace and meditate and everything. But I'd never had a peace like that felt so familiar, but also very calming and very like nourishing in a way. And I started to realize that there was something going on in the Mass that was divine. Something spiritual was going on in the Mass. I saw it from different eyes than when I was a kid. I saw it from, I always was looking for truth.
Yeah.
I was always looking for God. I didn't know it. But at the Catholic Mass, something was happening with the priest, with the cup and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And I started to make these connections with the religion that I was in. Like I told you, I was involved in Wicca, and there was similarities in the ritual I was doing. And I started to realize that it was mimicking the faith,
Yeah.
and, I read the Bible in the past, of course, and all of this stuff started coming to mind, like Satan masquerades as an angel of light. They worshiped creation instead of creator. And here I am trying to shut it out. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So I started going to another Mass. I started doing both. And this is when things started to get really strange. I was going to rituals. I was going to church. I wasn't taking the Eucharist because I knew, my significant other at the time, she's like, you have to go to confession first and everything. And I didn't know that. See, I didn't know that until later.
Yeah. And younger, you had received all your sacraments already?
I didn't receive confirmation.
You received baptism and communion
first
only.
Communion, yeah.
And when you were and I should ask you when you started about the Protestant church, but when you were in the Protestant church, did you get rebaptized?
Yeah, full submersion, believer's baptism, they called it.
Yeah.
That was an interesting part of my life, but there's something about the confessional, that I could have used when I was a Protestant, because I was dealing with sin and I was like really bent out of shape about it. And I feel like there's something healing about the confessional, not even just spiritually, but psychologically as well. And so, yeah, so as I was saying about like the weird stuff started happening, like as time went on, like there was some oppression happening in my apartment. Like at night when I would go to sleep, it sounded like someone was walking around the apartment, shuffling stuff around. Like it was like every night stuff like this was happening. And I would just try to shut it out, ignore it or whatever. Or just burn some sage and the demons will go away kind of thing. Like sage is going to make evil spirits run away, So I was doing that for a while, and then I was still going to church, still going to rituals. And
what days were your rituals?
It was usually on
the same
Saturday
week
or Sunday.
Okay,
nights.
so
Sunday nights. I'll go to church in the morning and then the ritual at night.
Oh yeah.
And my mind was starting to get very conflicted.
Yeah.
And I started to get kind of fascinated by Catholicism. I realized that something was happening in the Mass that I'd never realized before. And I started to lose interest in what I was doing. I started to think maybe it's all a lie. And this didn't happen overnight. This happened over months and months. And then one night, I was with my significant other and her two siblings, and they were in Catholic school. And we started talking about the sacraments. And then that night I started thinking, maybe I should go to a confession. And I was so conflicted. I'm like, what am I thinking right now? Because I was a witch. Straight up, I was a witch.
You didn't dress like one though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that night, something very bizarre happened when I went to sleep.
Wow.
So I was in my bed and I woke up but I couldn't move. I was having paralysis. I couldn't yell. I couldn't scream. And then all I could do was see. I was stuck. I was in this state of half asleep, half awake, but I was more awake than asleep, but I was still kind of asleep. It was strange. And then this thing comes to my eye. It's like this translucent being that I could describe it it was very visual. It was translucent, but it wasn't human. It had the face of a human, but you could see through it. And it didn't have hands. It had rounded hands and rounded feet. And it was just this bubbly looking thing. and it was trying to go in my body. Again, I'm in this like dream, weird, wake, asleep. It was trying to go in my body, and then I'm trying to fight it. And it was trying to go in my body. I couldn't move. And then in my mind, I'm saying, go to hell. And then it looks at me and says, I'm taking you with me.
Oh, damn.
And then I keep fighting, and I keep fighting, and I keep fighting, and it finally goes away. And then another one comes that looks exactly like it, does the same thing. I'm fighting it, and fighting it, and fighting it. And it goes away. And I'll tell you, like, I wasn't on any drugs. I wasn't drinking. I was completely sober that night. And then after I was in that state, that weird state, I go into like a regular dream, and I'm walking around this room, and there's this picture of like someone meditating, like doing this spiritual stuff. And then I saw and looked at who that person was. It looked like the entity. And then my dream was over. I woke up in the middle of the night. And I didn't even know whether to be afraid or in shock, but I was just like in complete shock that I had this oppression, you know? So I called my significant other at the time and told her what happened. And she's like, wow, that's so scary. And I was like, we should do a rosary prayer. And we did the prayer. And after that, I felt like this calm, this peace, the peace that I felt like in church, you know? And I was so like in shock for a few days. And I told the leader of the other group that I was in, I told her what happened. She was a priestess. And she's like, oh, you know, just burn some sage and do the sign of the pentagram over your bed with your ritual dagger and stuff. And I'm like, I didn't even bother doing it because I've always done that stuff. You know, but this was the only time I've ever experienced an oppression like that, when I started going back to the church and thinking about going to a confession. That's when that happened. And this is what happened. I went to rituals for a little bit longer, and then it pressed on my mind. I started to put all these puzzle pieces together. Like, that religion is basically made up of what? It's founded on something that is not even true. It was founded on a theory that was disproven by scholars like later in time. So that's when I found this church, you know, and I talked to our priests. I told them everything that happened. And I
told them in confession? You told them in just a conversation?
Well, I told them in conversation. Yeah. But before that even happened, I did go to a confession at the first church I was going to, and I did receive the Eucharist. And that's when I knew everything was going to change. So
then after you went to confession that one time, did you continue practice afterwards? Did you practice anymore?
Well, I moved out here, and then I started coming here. Is what happened. And then I was still so conflicted in my mind of all of this stuff that was happening. And I tell the priest about it, and I told him, he's like, you know, you need to leave what you're doing if you want to bring God in your life. So I got rid of so much stuff, so many books, statues, crystals, notes. And the hardest thing I ever had to do was tell the group that I was leaving, because they were my family. Like that, I lost a lot of friends when I left that group, and I told them. And I didn't have anywhere to burn this stuff, so I gave it back. And, you know, it always reminded me of there's this part in the book of Acts where they burned their magical books because they found God. And it summed up to like how much ever money. That's the same thing. I started to make connections like that in my mind. I spent so much money, and it was just filling a dark hole with money that you could never fill, you know, of books, materials.
That's what happened to that one Simon, that he tried to ask Peter that to give him the Holy Spirit and he'll pay whatever, and he damned him. Like, how dare you come at us with this? This is something of God. This is not something you can buy. You know, the things of God you can't buy.
Exactly.
So
exactly, it's an idol, is what it is. So I brought it back to the priestess, and I was so convicted in my heart. I'm like, am I going to tell her that I'm going to church now? And then I started thinking, like, it would be a sin for me to not tell her the truth. it would honestly be that. So I told her.
Yeah.
I told her, I'm like, look, I went to a mass and I felt peace. And I've never found that anywhere else, you know? And she kind of accepted it. And there wasn't much she could do at that point.
Yeah.
I gave her all of those materials back.
Did they try to stop you in any way, or
no?
Look at, I guess right there I can see how, and I'm listening to you, and I see how, I don't know if you noticed it yet, but, or you probably have, but how God gave you so much wisdom. The fact that you just said right now, I knew it was a sin to not tell them, you know. And we read this in the Bible study of how, you know, when God does something and people don't give him recognition, you know, and when he healed the 10 lepers, right, and one came back and glorified God, and that's what you did, right? You're coming back and you glorify God by telling them that, it's, you know, I'm going to the Catholic Church, I'm going to practice my faith. And what I see is that, and I don't know how much studying you did during that whole process with scripture, with the Catholic Church, but God has given you so much wisdom without even getting into it yet. So much knowledge of the things of God, which is very important. You know, it's good to have knowledge of the things of the world, but there's nothing like the knowledge of the things of God. And it seems like God has given you that just by your own effort of making that change in your life. And, you know, just that little thing right there just caught my attention. The fact that you recognize that it was a sin to not tell them that you were going back.
It was
coming
something
back
that
home.
was kind of like pressing me, that like, you have to at least tell them. And will they become converted right away? I don't know. It's possible that it could. Who knows? I would say probably not, because they are completely deceived through and through. And there's nothing I could do about it. It's in God's hands. But all of this story, like, it's not of my own doing. Like, all I did was make the decision and make God, this was God's work, not mine at all. Like, all glory to him. This is him. This is all about Jesus Christ. He did this. He saved me. All I did was say yes. Because it came down to a point where he's like, okay, Kurt, you're either going to deny me or you are going to not deny me. You are going to receive me or deny me. It came down to that point, and I couldn't deny it anymore. I could not deny it anymore with all of those biblical truths that I remembered. That was a complete opposite of what I was doing, to an eye-opening point. It was just like, wow, there's almost something to this, you know? So yeah, that's what happened. And
that's crazy. That's awesome. That's an awesome testimony, man. I mean, okay, so now that you're back in the faith, and there's no communication on that side, friend-wise at least, they don't check up on you or anything like that?
No.
And the flesh, does it desire it? Does it wonder more? What if I would have? Because I'm thinking right now, the way you ended it, I think that Jesus is, you know, he gave you this, like you said, either you're gonna, you know, deny me or not deny me. Because if you did deny him, I think from there it would have been straight into the hole.
Absolutely.
Straight into the hole. It seems like that's the route that you were, like, that you were at a breaking point, and God still, like I said, our soul cries to God all the times, and he's merciful, and he gave you that mercy, and he gave you the opportunity. He gives everybody the opportunity to one day, you know, pick, you know, I'm here I am, I'm gonna show you. Do you want it? Yes or no? And just like the bad angels that fell down and became demons, they chose, knowing all the knowledge, they still chose wrong. So you knew everything. Okay, you lived this witchcraft life. Now you're experiencing my true love, my peace. What do you want? And you picked it because
I couldn't deny it anymore. The signs were clear, you know. And the thing is, when you're in those spiritualities, you're looking for signs. You're trying to see signs. But the signs that God showed me outweighed any sign or any miracle that I've seen on the other side. And there was just no way of denying it anymore. And so, yeah, I mean, about what you said, like, does the devil try to remind me? I mean, absolutely. He tries to remind me. I mean, I've had them text me here and there, but to ask him, oh, what does this thing do that you gave us or whatever? Or because I gave all of my objects and everything, and I just told them and leave it at that. But that's the most I'll do. I don't see them anymore. God bless them. You know, I pray for them. I have prayed for them. You know, but it's in God's hands. It's in their will if they want to see the truth or not. You know, and if they see this video, hi. Honestly,
hey, you never know. They might see it.
Yeah, maybe they will, and I hope they do. Honestly, I hope people who are in the occult will see this. I'm hoping that people who even have the slightest interest of any kind of other spirituality will see this, because it is no joke. Like, it is demonic. Truly, it is demons who are acting like they're angels trying to help you, is exactly what it is. And it's a serious spiritual reality, and it's a battle. It is a reality. Christianity is a reality.
Yes,
absolutely.
It is.
It's but yeah, I mean, that's where I am. And I talked to my mom about this, and she said, you know, Kurt,
they're still Catholics?
Yeah.
Where
they live in North Georgia, and they go to a church up in the mountains up there. It's really nice.
That's where you're going. You said this weekend.
Yeah, the past couple weeks of my time in Florida, I'll be there.
Nice.
And
how? Well, you were about to say, how happy were they when you?
My mom was very happy. She said, you know, I've been praying for you this whole time that you would come back to God, and I did, and I came back to the Catholic Church. You know, the faith that I was raised in. You know, and she was so happy. And when I saw her on Thanksgiving, we did the rosary together every night. You know, and now she's gotten into the habit of doing it too. And it's just, there's so much power in the rosary. You know.
Oh yes,
it's a very rosary, powerful thing.
It's just a beautiful, and I don't know, me personally, there's so much power in it, because I also think the reason why is when we pray the rosary for some reason, that's like the time that most distraction comes to our mind, you know, a lot of times. And it's because the devil hates it. It hates it. It wants us to start now thinking about the laundry, the chores, the work and all. And now, like, it seems like now's the time to be thinking about these things, but it's not. But it's obviously the devil, you know, and there's a reason why, because it's so powerful that just meditating on the mysteries of the Lord and what the Virgin Mary went through, there's nothing like that, you know. You can just dwell on that if you actually focus, you know, for hours and hours on it. For those that don't know, Kurt, you're leaving to the Navy.
Yep, I'm joining.
I got a question for that. I wrote it down just to make sure I ask it, you know, before we close. But again, thank you for the testimony. It was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
No, I'm glad that you reached out. Like I said, we were at that. You know, I like to share. I like to be as transparent as possible. That's why I wanted to share that we prayed on it. You know, we're always trying to leave. Even this starting of this interview stuff, we pray to God for Him to lead it, for Him to. That's why, and we knew for a fact though that we wanted to be our priest to start it, and then from there we didn't know. We don't know even to the day now. You know, if our parishioners are watching, hey, whatever it is, I will eventually will decide and pray on it and we'll pick. But if they can reach out like you did, that would be awesome too. Because the fact that you reached out, we're like, what? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
But you're going to the Navy. Will you take your faith with you to the Navy? Do you think you'll be able to hold your faith being out there?
Oh, absolutely. There's no way I would ever go back to where I was. My faith, I'm going to try to make it the center of my life the best I can, because I know where I was without God, and I wouldn't ever want to be there again.
Okay. Because you have experienced the power of evil. You were in it. You were part of it. You were a priest. But now you're going to experience the power of man. And if there's something that we fight against in this world, it's not only of evil, but we also fight against our flesh, man. When men are just plain out living the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm saying that because, you know, when you have a brother that's in there, or that was in there in the you said in the Navy too.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is, but you know, when it comes to where the same, you got to pick, hey, more of Navy stuff and less of your religious stuff. This is not time for, like, where are you going to be at when it comes to that? Like, would it be, hey, I need to step away from this? How I know you're serious about it because you're obviously doing it, but it's going to be, your faith will be serious enough where it comes to where they tell you, hey, it's all about the Navy, nothing about religious. Don't bring this up in here. Don't even talk about it. Don't even ask to go to mass. You won't be able to have time to go to mass. Like, I don't know if that happens out there. I may be misspeaking for those that are actually in the Navy, Marines, or whatever. They probably do have that free time. I don't know. But if if you come to a situation like that, you think you'll be able to hold your faith where, you make it clear.
I think I would. I think so. But the good thing about the military is they have chaplains
Okay.
who minister to the soldiers or sailors or whatever they are. And there's Catholic chaplains.
Oh, nice.
And I know this so far. When I go to basic training, you have Sundays off. So that's going to be a good thing.
Yes.
And, will I have to miss a Sunday in the future? I don't know.
Mhm.
But I would say there's some kind of conflict or something and I have to be off. And, that would be, that might happen, in a time of war or something. I could see that happening. But from the best of my ability and through God's help, I will ask him every day, Lord, keep me close to you.
Yeah.
I will always pray that prayer, keep me close, because I know that the world is going to be full of distractions. I know there's going to be temptations, and I'm not perfect and I might fall sometimes, but I will always stay rooted in prayer first and foremost. Absolutely. And, I will always make God a priority in my life, especially after everything I've experienced. I would never want to go any other way.
And another question real quick, I know we're almost kind of close. When you were doing or now that you're here, it never crossed your mind, like, the religious life? Probably did, huh?
I've thought about it, but
okay.
I know that it would have to be a true calling. It wouldn't have to be something that my ego wants.
Yeah.
I would have to see, okay, God, this is truly what you want from me, and I feel like, I am, none of us are perfect, but I, have to work on myself spiritually still to get to that point. And if God does give me a call, like, I wanted to call you to religious life or whatever, then I would follow. Absolutely.
But you still got to get your confirmation, right? Or did you ever get it after all?
So here's the thing. So since I'm going in the Navy, they might either write a letter for me to bring to some other church, or when the bishop comes here, I might come back down here to get a religious accommodation. The thing is, they do religious accommodations in the military.
Okay.
So I might work with that. But that's what the chaplain helps people with.
Yeah.
So I might come back down here to be confirmed and everything. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you.
Real quick, for you guys out there, please like, share, and comment. These videos are not for fame in any way. This is just for us to share our faith, for those out there that can experience God somehow, some way, from real people. I don't, this is nothing for us. This is for the work of God. This is for the heavens. So, and also for my kids, as they grow up, they can see that we're trying to be saints. That's the whole purpose of this life that we're living, is that we're all just trying to be faith. Thank you so much for watching. Till the next time. Bye.